Hello, this was going to be a very different video until I kind of sat with it and thought about what I wanted to do. And now we get the video that you get today, which is the TBR to try to hopefully finish HRCYED round 2. If you don't know, HRCYED is the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. It's a challenge that is organized by Q over at QWERTY, and I will have their, if I remember, I'll put their channel down below in the description if you want to check out their video and other videos around HRCYED and other things. So, I was thinking of quitting HRCYED and just being like, I can't do it. It's not working with what I'm reading. I don't think I can finish everything in time. And then I was like, hold on, let me see what books I've read, see if I can shuffle things around. Let me see what kinds of things we can get going. And I actually had less to read than I thought. A lot of the books that I kind of read for some other things fit well into some of the HRCYED prompts that I kind of didn't realize. A couple of things I could switch out for another book that could then go somewhere else. So I feel like we've made some progress and I actually have finished many more categories than I thought I had finished. So I'm going to show you just the bingo board. The ones that are green are the ones that I finished. The purple and white don't mean anything for completion or not. It's just what types of challenge it is, and Q explained that in their video. So let's go through and talk about which ones I've completed and what books I'm planning to read for the ones that I haven't completed. So you'll see in the top row that I've completed by the hundreds. This is where you have to read a book that is 100 pages, then 200 pages, then 300 pages. I've completed that. I have done a 24-hour readathon. I have done subgenres of choice. I did fantasy subgenres. I went through that very quickly because I read a lot of fantasy. I have not done the series Staircase. Let's pull that up. So the series Staircase, as you can see, is partially done, but not all the way done. So I finished the solo standalone. I did a Christmas book for that one. For the duology, I have read Flesh and Spirit, and I need to read the second book, Breath and Bone. I'm partway through, and then I kind of soft DNF'd it, and I'm wondering whether or not I want to go back to it, which I think I do, but I'm not 100% sure. For trilogy, I have started Assassin's Apprentice, so I think I'm going to try to use that one. But that's a lot of book to get through. So I don't know, but I don't have any other trilogies that I have ready to go. And then for a series that is 4 or more books long, I am planning on reading the Tower of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft. The first book is upstairs, but I have the rest of the series from the library. The only problem is, again, the size. I just want to read a lot of chunky books this year, and so that's a maybe. I'm enjoying the first one, but I haven't finished it yet. Then looking back at the board, we have the award season, which was to read books from various awards, and I completed that one. TBR game challenge. So if we go to this one, this is blank because I have not decided if I want to do this or not. And I think maybe I am, but I'm maybe going to substitute a readathon TBR game and not a game itself, just because there aren't any TBR games that are easily accessible. I have a lot of TBRs already set for the next few months that I'm working on. And so having a TBR game that I have to like set up and record and do a whole TBR stack for it and stuff like that and read all the books on top of all the TBRs that I had planned. I'm just like, I don't know. So I was thinking of just doing like the magical readathon and having that be like the game, because there is a little bit of a game element to it, or just not doing this one. I think this is the one that I was like, I have my own TBR game, which is new and exciting, so I'm enjoying that. And I'm just not finding it interesting to do someone else's TBR game. Every time I've like thought of one, I'm like, I don't know, just with everything else I had planned, it doesn't really fit in with my reading plans. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I might just cheat a little and substitute like the magical readathon books in there and have that be my TBR game, but I'm not sure. Then the rest of this row is complete. So I've finished books from the last 10 years. I've done all the adaptations that I needed to do. The disability rep challenge is done, and the Heritage Month challenge is done. Translation challenge, I'm one book away. I have read from a Japanese translated book, Portuguese, Georgian, and German. So I just need one language left. I'm not sure what it'll be, but I'll for sure try to find one. That is one I haven't looked for yet. I could do French. I have the Italian? The Elena Ferrante books. Is French or Italian? I can't quite remember. Maybe it's Italian. The Elena Ferrante Neapolitan series. I have the first book in that one on my shelves. So I could do that one maybe. I'll have to do some looking. Around the World, I am almost done. I have one book left, and I've picked out what I want to read, and that's Behold the Dreamers. This is by, I think the way to say her name is Mbolo Mbwe, maybe? She is Cameroonian. I've never read from a Cameroonian author, so I think that'd be really fun. This is a book recommendation I got from Books and Lala. She read it on her channel and really enjoyed it, and it sounds like a really timely novel to read because it's about immigrants to the United States, and right now stuff with immigration is insane, and so I think that would be like a really like good book to read at this moment. And then for the Even Bigger Rainbow, I just have Yellow left, and I plan to read Dust by Hugh Howey. That will work for some of my goals that I have planned for this year that are outside of HRCYED, which is finishing series. It's the Silo series by Hugh Howey, and Dust is the third and final book in that series. So I'm going to read that one, and that will get me my yellow cover. And then for Make a Quote, I had to do a little bit of like shifty business to make it work because I picked a quote that I liked and I didn't check to see if like there were books that worked for it. So I did Dream On But Don't Imagine They'll All Come True. That's by one of my favorite songs by Billy Joel, the song Vienna. And I have a lot to read because they are quite difficult words to find on book covers. So Dream, I'm going to read Behold the Dreamers. But I'm going to either do Butter or Butcher of the Forest. Basically, I didn't have any books on my TBR that had just the word but, so I'm doing, it contains the word but in a larger word. Then for They'll, I wanted to do They and Will because I couldn't find the they will contraction. So I'm going to split the words apart and try to do two books that will fit that. That could be Before They Are Hanged, and then Remember You Will Die. The only problem is Before They Are Hanged is the second book in a series, and I didn't really have a plan to read the first book quite yet. That's in the Joe Abercrombie Blade Itself series. I have not, the First Law series, that's what it's called. I have not planned to start that series, so I'd have to read that one to read Before They Are Hanged. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I don't know. And then for All, I plan to read All This and More by Pang Shepherd because I have it out from the library, and yay. And then for True, I couldn't find any books that I had that had the word true, but I have a book out from the library called Conspiracy of Truths, so I'm going to use truths in place of true. I feel like it fits the spirit, so I feel like we're okay there. And then Spooky Creatures. Spooky Creatures, I finished a long time ago. That was fairly easy. That was fairly easy for me with how much fantasy I read. That was an easy one. Become the Avatar had to do with like finding elements on book covers, and that was an easy one to complete. Completing any readathon, I completed Winterween. That's the one I did. I did Winterween in January and completed that one. The Animals Are Better prompt was to read books with a bunch of different animals within them that had like kind of prominent roles, and I did that one. Queer Alphabet, I had to go do some hunting because I read a lot of fantasy, and I was like, I know I'm gonna have a lot of these on books that are on my radar, I just don't know it. So I had to go do, Reddit has like an LGBTQ like database spreadsheet where people can go in and like put what kind of representation is in the books. So I use that a lot to help me figure out which of my fantasy books and sci-fi books had representation in them, because it's not always obvious from like the description. So that was super helpful. So I have books ready to go. Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I'm going to use that for the bisexual representation. For transgender representation, I'm going to read Lone Women by Victor LaValle, because I actually had that out from the library as well. Library is saving me in this. So many books I'm reading are from the library. For intersex, I may change this for a shorter book, but Kim Stanley Robinson, his book 2312, it's about the year 2312. There's an intersex character in there that I could read. For polyamory, I'm going to go back to A Conspiracy of Truths, because that has, polyamory is very common. Then for non-binary or agender, I'm going to read The Bone Dolls Twin by Lynn Flewelling. This is a like sort of classic, I think 90s fantasy. And it has some like agender characters or non-binary characters. And then for gender fluid, I'm going to be reading The Mirror Empire by Cameron Hurley, which is, again, like The Bone Dolls Twin and Conspiracy of Truths. It's a start to a series, so I'm going to be starting a lot of series, so we'll see how that goes. For my favorite HRCYED 1 prompt, I am not telling anyone what it is because it's for like a secret vlog, so I'm just keeping that on the wraps, but I haven't done any of it and I need to, and that's going to be, I think, at least 6 books. So that one's quite long. Okay, final row. Here we go. BIPOC challenge. I have 2 spots left. Just the idea of this one is that you're not supposed to have like duplicate representation. So if you read from like an African-American author for one slot, you're supposed to read from like a different type of representation for another slot. So I have 2 left. There are so many authors of color I could read from. I haven't done Indian, I haven't done Korean, I haven't done so many authors. I might try to do Isabel Allende for like a Chilean author, but I'm not sure yet if that's what I'm going to do. But that's one of the 2 that I'm thinking about. For new releases, this is the one at the beginning I thought was going to be the hardest, and I've actually done okay, but I still have 5 open slots, but I am going to read Snake Eater by T. Kingfisher for one of them. That's for November, but then I still need a book for December, October, July, and January. And the way I set this up is that I'm doing a book either in 2025 or 2026, and I don't have to read it in the month that it's published. I can read it whenever. For Challenge Yourself, my goal was to complete Taming the Shelves Phase 2, which is basically getting down my own TBR by quite a bit, and I don't think I'm gonna make it. My ultimate goal is to finish it by the end of 2026, so I have time for that. I don't know if I can complete it in time for HRCYED, which is over June 30th, so we'll see, but I just don't know if I can get it done, especially because so many of the books that I'm needing to get for this are having to come from outside of my like physical TBR. So even the books I'm reading for this are kind of coming from other places. So I'm not sure if I'll finish it, but I'm going to try. Then I completed the nonfiction challenge. This is one that I finished pretty quickly. It was like I didn't read any nonfiction for a long time. And then I just listened to a bunch on audiobook and flew through that one. And the final one is Q's Reviews and Recs. And I'm going to read Senlin Ascends for this one. And that'll be my final one. I've done Blood Over Brighthaven and Gideon the Ninth. And I haven't actually gone and watched her reviews to see what I thought of them compared to what Q thought. So we'll see if our ratings compare. So that is what I plan to do. I'm going to tally up how many books it is and then give you a percentage on how likely I think I will actually read all of these books before the end of this challenge. Okay, so for completing all of these, I think I would have to read 42 books. This does not include the challenge yourself goal. I just don't think that goal is going to happen by July. Maybe I'll surprise myself, but I have like stacks of library books and book club books and other TBRs that are coming not necessarily from my shelves. So I just don't think that's going to happen halfway through the year. I think it's a much better like end of the year goal for myself. I was being ambitious when I made that last year. So do I think I'm going to complete 42 books in the 3 months that are remaining? I give this like a 30% chance, maybe 20% chance. I really don't think it's going to happen, but I do feel better trying to get there if I can, rather than just being done with it. Like, the idea is it's supposed to be a challenge. If I got to some of these books have been on my TBR a long time. It would be good to read them. I like the focus on representation in them, which is something that I think is always important. So I do want to try to beat all of these different prompts. I just don't know how likely it is that it will happen with everything else that's going on, but that's okay. When I started this challenge, I actually didn't know if I would get as far as I did with it, and we got really close. I would like for sure to get a bingo, so that like that's going to be my like baby steps goal, is to get a bingo, and then, you know, once I get one bingo, maybe try to get another. So we'll see how it all kind of shakes out. But I do think it's highly unlikely I will finish all of those books by the end, but we're going to see how far I can get. If you are participating in HRCYED, or if you think you might participate in HRCYED 3, which will start in July, let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts. I don't think I'm going to do HRCYED 3. I actually have a really fun different kind of challenge that I'm going to be setting for myself that I think will take up too much reading time for me to juggle that and HRCYED. So I think I'm not going to participate in it again, but it has been really fun kind of having this really challenging reading challenge. I mean, it's supposed to be the hardest challenge you'll ever do. So I've really enjoyed it, and I'm kind of surprised I've gotten as close as I have on a lot of these. I have quite a few categories that only need 1 or 2 books to finish them off. So we've done really well. Okay, that's all I have for today's video. I will see you in the next video. Bye.